Hello and welcome to the Done With You course Kickstart. My name is Marilyn Devonish. I will be your host and your tour guide through this intro today. So what I want to do is I launched a new service this year, which it's something that I've done sort of ad hoc, but this was more of a formalized version of it. And it was a done for you service for people who want to run workshops, courses, programs, webinars, but just get completely bogged down either in how do you actually design the workshop? What should you include? What should you leave out? How do you structure it? And then, of course, all of the technology that goes with it, particularly if you're running it online. Which webinar platform? How do you run the webinar? How do you handle the Q&A? How do you manage the chat? How do you manage the slides? And all of that stuff, which people tend to find really overwhelming and which I actually rather enjoy. So I thought, hey, but somebody said, can you help me with my work? I'm like, of course I can. And then with, promo materials, putting the slides together. So that's how it started. And that's bespoke, it's one-to-one. However, I was thinking, well, I could probably do a group version of that as well, and a group online version. So there's the done for you, which is pretty much hand over all of the heavy lifting, I'll do it. The done with you is that there are parts of it that you're going to do and parts of it that I will manage. And it's more of both of them are co-creation, but there's more onus on the other person. I will be saying, well, do this, do that, rather than me saying, do you want me to do this? Or they're saying, I need to do this, and I'll saying, I'll do it. And I thought, well, there's somewhere in between those points. It's the done with you, but it's a group online version rather than one-to-one bespoke. So the rationale and the purpose for me running this today is so that I can test out some of the exercises, see how they work. I'm interested to see what you get from the exercises, the outputs. Are they going to be similar to the outputs that I get when we're sitting one-to-one in a Zoom call, for example? So that's really what I'm testing out. So that's what we're doing. So first off, I want to start with about you. So what would you like to know? What would you like to learn, or what would you like to take away from today? Because, of all the things you could be doing, there's a million and one other things you could be doing, depending on your time zone. You might be asleep, might be having dinner, might be having lunch, whatever it is. But why are you here? So what would you like to know or learn or take away? Ultimately, why are you here? Which is related to question number one, number two, they're related. Is it because you have to run corporate workshops? So part of your job, part of your role is running workshops, and workshops might also be team building events. It may be running meetings because the principles are very, very similar. So maybe that's the thing that brings you initially. Are you looking to design and deliver your own courses, or perhaps even design and deliver courses for other people? If you, let's say you're a consultant, etc. Are you perhaps looking to launch a series of webinars and start an online series? Or maybe you're going to be hosting group classes and you want to run some online groups. You've never done it before. As I said, all the overwhelming stuff gets in the way. So what I'm going to do is just give you a minute and a half or there. Actually, no, let's be more generous. What do you want to know? Da, 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 da. And the reason I'm going to keep the timing short, number one, this is just a short intro and you can expand on them, but also people will fill the time that you give them. And, if I give 5 minutes, people will expand. And so I need 10. So we're going to keep it short and sweet. So for this one, let's start with just a 2-minute burst of answering these questions. Now, if you're old school, you might be doing it pen and paper. If you're a bit more high tech, you might be doing it on a tablet, or you might have a journal. And I would suggest that if you are going to be doing this as a program, start a journal, because it will really, really help you to capture ideas, and those ideas and thoughts then get fed into the workbook. So you decide, what is it you're going to do? Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to call up a timer. We're going to go for the dragon today. The dragon, bring in the dragons. There we go. So you're going to have 2 minutes for this particular exercise, and your time starts now. You've got 20 seconds left. Wonderful. And as I said, you can come back to this later if you wanted to flesh out any of the ideas. So you can put your answers into the chat. You can put your answers into the Q&A as we go through, and we will cycle back through those. So, and I'll talk to you about how to use the chat and Q&A if you're not familiar with this particular platform. So in terms of the course taster, this overview, so we're going to talk about the rationale, and I've talked a bit about the rationale already, and I'll talk a bit more about the done for you forerunner to this. Going to give you an overview of what's included in that program. Look, talk about client successes, results, what you can expect. And of course, everyone's results are going to be different. You're all going to have a different experience, but I'll give you an overview of that. And then we're going to do some of the done with you exercises. So I've chosen a few of starter exercises. We'll do a Q&A. And then we will close with a perhaps see how we go for time, and if it's something. Now, if it's not something that comes up when people are in the chat and Q&A, we won't. But I have put a bonus exercise for those people who get nervous. A really simple, powerful thing that you can do to help to reduce the nerves and anxiety. So that's a little bit of the overview and the roadmap of where we are heading. So first off, why is this important? One of the things I would definitely say is, if you have been wanting to, meaning to run a workshop, run a course, run webinars, do stuff online, stand up and deliver trainings, but you haven't done it, a few fundamental questions. How much time have you lost in terms of what you could have already put out into the world? Question number one. Number two, how much time have you wasted by thinking about it, procrastinating, going around the houses? I know people who have been designing a course for 5, 10 years, still haven't done it yet. They're kind of either getting to analysis paralysis, or they're over preparing. They have far too much material, and really now they've buried themselves in data, no idea where to start. And question number three, how much money are you leaving on the table? For me, this one is a fundamental piece, and I'll talk about this when I talk about one of the case studies, the one that I'm going to spotlight today, because it can be amazing. You could be walking away from a completely different revenue stream, particularly for people who have been used to doing everything in person. There is a potential global network of people out there waiting for you that you could be connecting with, and that you're completely missing the trick. So it is like, the clock is ticking, time is a wasting. None of us are necessarily getting any younger. And it's like just throwing money down the drain. It's like kind of burning potential money that could be working for you in a completely different way. Actually, let me see if this works. I can see if it uploaded. I was uploading something earlier. Is this the same one? Hold on. Let me just see if this is the one that I think it is.
How much time are you wasting, and how much money are you leaving on the table by dabbling or struggling
similar
to do it yourself?
concept.
If you have been
Going
meaning to
round in
create a course
circles
or
in your own
online
head.
workshop, sign up for the Done With You or Done For
Clock
You
is ticking.
program with Marilyn Devonish,
Got all the
the
ideas,
NeuroSuccess coach.
stacking up.
For
People have got
details,
the
visit
books, the data, the research, all of that sort of stuff, but
www.transformationstm.com
not
and click the
actually
red What's New
doing
button.
anything
You can have your
with
first
it,
workshop
and the
designed and
sands of
delivered
time
within 6 weeks
continue to
when you sign
fall.
up today.
So with regards to this, I would say, do not waste any more time. Do not waste any more time. Actually do something about it and get those ideas out into the world and into the hands of the people that you are here to serve. As I said, be that corporate, or be it the kind of more personal development side of things. Now, why, in a nutshell, would you want to work with me? And this is really a nutshell. I could, I can go show you a bit more detail in terms of some of the things, just to give you a flavor of what you might be able to do as well, or maybe some of the avenues you haven't potentially thought of. But in a nutshell, nutshell, I started designing workshops in 1991. My industrial placement year was at a place called ICL Beaumont in Windsor, and it was their global training center. Beautiful building, incredible grounds. And so I worked with Joan, a lovely lady, and I was her assistant, and we would design all the workshops, you know. And back in those days, we'd had acetates, wasn't all this PowerPoint malarkey, and OHPs, overhead projectors. So we would design the courses, we would type up all the notes, we would collate everything, go into the great big binders. Now we did design online, really fabulous. It was almost like Disney style animation, but then we would print those out onto acetates, and then they would go up on the projectors. So God, that's what, 35 years, something like that. I'm not gonna count. So yeah, I've been designing workshops since 1991. I was behind the scenes then. I've been front of house, if you want to put it that way, designing and delivering workshops and trainings and courses since 2001. I've been a certified trainer in multiple modalities since 2001, so including certified trainer of NLP, hypnosis, timeline therapy. I'm a certified photo reading instructor. I completed my instructor training with Dr. Paul Sheely in March 2002. I'm also a soul plan reader and a soul plan instructor, so certifying other people to be soul plan readers. So as I said, multiple things going on there. I've been teaching and training and coaching and doing online therapy since 2005. So well before the pandemic pivot. So it's never a knee-jerk reaction. Everything was tried and tested in terms of being able to make a connection, make an impact with your audience, which is what will be imparted during this program, the done with you or done for you as well. Experience across a range of sectors and industries. The only thing I haven't done is hospitality and food, really, but pretty much most other things, there's going to be a variation of a theme. I haven't worked down a mine, but I have worked on a building site and I have worked on a quarry. But it's wide and varied, to say the least. I'm also been a media expert for Psychology's magazine. I wrote a monthly agony aunt column for Spirit and Destiny for nearly 7 years. I do live television, live radio, and industry keynote sessions, speak at conferences, exhibitions, expos, all of that sort of stuff. So I will go as far as saying this is one of my subjects in which I have a considerable amount of expertise. So that is in a nutshell. Now, one of the things they've done with you, this is the case study I'm going to spotlight for this one, because it just summarizes everything so beautifully. And it is, for me, the way I saw it when I was putting it together, it is like a whole course workshop design process in a box. In the same way you might go and buy a sewing kit, it's got everything you need, or you might go and buy a toolkit, a toolbox. This is in a box, everything you need to go from start to finished product. It's contained within. Now I know that's a little bit small, so this is a slightly bigger version. I'm going to read it to you. So it says, and this, with this particular client, they have been in their particular field for 20 years. That's 10 plus 10 years, 20. And they had never run an online workshop, never run a group session. All of their work was one-to-one, and in their catchment area. They're based in the United States. I'm here in the UK. And so it was going to be their first ever group workshop and their first ever online workshop. So here's what they said. They said, I'm absolutely blown away by my experience with you, ! I feel so well supported by you, Marilyn. Thank you for that. You really are the best. Thank you for so many things. Your trust to introduce me to your people who trust you deeply, for your time and expertise that went into producing the amazing live stream production, the quality of the promotional material, brackets, out of this world amazing, and the shorts, in terms of short videos that you've produced following the live stream. Wow, you're immensely talented, giving you so much gratitude for helping me launch into the world. I've had 14 people reach out to me for sessions or classes. Thank you for that too. And they went from never having run a group session. We had the first workshop, and it was a free workshop, which is one they're talking about here. First workshop done in 6 weeks. And it only took that long because it was about getting a date in the diary, quite frankly. From that workshop, which was free, They then got a series of paid clients and they tested out the ideas for their paid workshops. And in just over 3 months, we ran 5, or was it 6? Let's go with 5. I think it was 6, but we ran 5 workshops in 3 months. That is incredible. But even just to do one workshop, their first workshop, and from that, they got paid clients. I'm going to say that's hands down amazing. So when I say it's about getting things done, getting the ideas out of your head, off the shelf, and out into the world, and they were connecting with people mainly from the United Kingdom because I introduced them to my list. These are people that would never, number one, probably never have heard of them, but would never have necessarily been able to work with them in the way that we did, because that just wasn't what they were doing. And we did a 3-month program, in terms of working together. And at the end of that, we were planning to do more things. And they sent me an email saying, Marilyn, I'm not going to continue on with the coaching and the program because I now feel confident enough to do it for myself. And that is amazing. So now they're going to go off and run their own workshops and their own online things and run their own technology, because for them, I did everything in terms of, I did the PowerPoint slides, I set up the webinar funnel, I did the promotional materials, set up their landing page, did the kind of promos, the social media posts and the images that went with the social media posts, which they're talking about there in terms of, the out of the world amazing in terms of the promotional material. And then, which was a really big part of it, I ran the technology for them during all of those workshops. So all they needed to focus on was to show up and shine. That was it. I even was driving the PowerPoint slides in the background. So whenever they got to the next topic, because I can see the slides in the back office and they're transitioning from one thing to the other, or they would say next slide, or can you go to the slide which has XYZ? I'd be like, yes. And then I would just do that. It would magically appear on screen. If there were videos, I don't think we had any videos actually necessarily. But if they, all of that was just happening seamlessly in the background. So they just needed to focus on sharing their material and delivering their content. So for me, this is really what it's all about, because I know so many incredible people who have got decades worth of experience and they haven't yet taken that step, even though they want to, of bringing it to the world in this type of way and running workshops, programs, etc. And about that thing, not leaving this world with your song still inside of you, it's all of that and so much more. Now, for those of you who are here live, if you've got questions, queries, feedback, there's a public chat and there's the private Q&A. So by default, usually the first one, so hold on, let me just so where it says hello and welcome, you can see my name. That's the name that I signed in with. It's public. Everybody can see what you're saying and they'll see the name that you signed in with. Or if you signed in as anonymous, it will just say guest 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. Or next to the chat is the Q&A. So you just click on it and that comes just to me. It doesn't appear in the public domain. I'm the only one who can see it. So you have the choice of what you want to use if you have any questions or queries. We will do a Q&A at the end. And just as you think of the questions, just put them in there. Now, some of them I'm going to answer as a matter of course, as we go through, and others I'll cycle back. And if there's anything I know I haven't touched on, I will endeavor to do that as well. So that is that. So let's move along. I always have this in my workshops, whether it's a deeply esoteric workshop, personal development, or even a corporate leadership development workshop, because it's one of my favorite sayings. And when I went out to Hawaii to study Huna, Huna, this was one of the first things that they said: think not that all wisdom is in your school. So with what I am about to share with you, I might think it's the best thing since sliced bread. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. It's not saying it's the only way to do it. These are the things and the tools and techniques that I've used over the last 30 plus years that really work. And that is why I've chosen them. If you have a better way, a different way, and more, if knock yourself out and do it. But I'm not saying this is the be all and end all. So in terms of the done for you process and breakdown, in a nutshell, and we are going to drill down into this a bit more as well, but in a nutshell, it starts with, depending on the level that people are working at, but I'm going to talk at it from the done for you mainly, because that's more comprehensive, and of course it gets pared down if it's done with you. But we start with, there's a consultancy piece where it's like, okay, what are you wanting to do? What are the ideas? Who's your audience? All of those sorts of things. So if you imagine, if you're sitting down with a consultant, there's a course mapping. So we're going to map out those ideas once we've disseminated and what they are. We're going to create the course asset. So what is going to support this particular course, both in terms of what goes out in terms of promo and also what attendees will be receiving. Set up the webinar funnel. So that's something I will do. Workshop design session. So we've kind of got the ideas. We know what we're looking to do, who we want to connect with, how we're going to design this thing and put it together in a way that delivers on that outcome. There's the confidence coaching if required, because sometimes one of the reasons people haven't done this is they're a little bit nervous. They're not quite sure of all of the things that they're required to do, that they're going to be happening. There's too much going on, or they've just never done it before. So there's that side of things to give people a little bit of inspiration, motivation, and quite frankly, sometimes a nudge over the edge, like, let's get this thing done. And then there's managing the webinar technology, as I said before. So lots of different components that go into it. And then again, depending on the level of the program, coming out of this yourself with evergreen products. These are products that you do it once, produce it once, and you can continue to offer that as a revenue stream over and over and over and over again. Because inevitably, when you run something, for those of you who run workshops, you will know people go, oh, I'd love to do it, can't make that date, I'm not free, da 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 da. It's like, well, worry not. A bit like the photo reading at my photo reading accelerated learning workshop. When I first started out, only did that online, did it in person. And people be as far afield as Australia saying, oh my God, I wish I could do it. It sounds so amazing. Canada, America, across Europe, etc. And so I then thought, it was around 2018/19. I was like, why don't I do this online? So I went to Learning Strategies, the called people who own the licensing. I said, are you all right for me to run this as an online workshop? They're like, oh, I'm not really sure about that. I said, let me run it. If it doesn't work, I'll never do it again. It was amazing, incredible. The results were mind blowing. And people were saying, I feel like I am in the room. So that was amazing. And so that now, if people say, oh, can't make that, I say, no problem. It is available online because it's evergreen. So it's online, it's on demand at people's fingertips. That's one of the amazing things, because it means it's almost like replicating yourself, which frees you up to do other things. So that's in a nutshell, some of the things that we can, and also it just means for your audience, they can be on their tablet, they can be on their phone, if they're not at home on their device, and they can be interacting with you, doing these trainings, doing these workshops. Incredible. All the while you can be relaxing, chilling at home, having your herbal tea at your side while you deliver, which I think is incredible. And there are, in a nutshell, because I'm sort of condensing it down, but there are 4 phases of this. Phase 1, idea generation, rationale, course mapping, etc. Phase 2, and for many people, it's not about they haven't got an idea. One of the things I often find is people have got too many ideas. They do not know where to start. They don't know which of the ideas to choose. They don't know which material to put in, what to leave out. And if left to their own devices, it will be like war and peace. So phase 2 is about disseminating that and then starting to map out the course design, the framework. Phase 3 is about, okay, we know what we're doing now. Let's start developing the course. Let's start putting the materials together, marketing assets, if that's something I'm helping people with. And then phase 4 is actual delivery. So let's do the webinar. So you managing the webinar attendees, managing the webinar funnel, the technology, and then what can come out of that at the other side, if you choose, is the evergreen products. So that's basically the phase. Phase 1, idea generation, the brainstorming, accessing the archive of ideas, because sometimes people will say, I'm going to do a workshop about this, but then as we get into the consultancy piece and really start dusting off those old ideas, something even better comes to the fore, something more relevant, or as we did with the particular client we're talking about in the spotlight, ran the free workshop, there was a particular reaction to several, but a couple of particular things that they did. So the original plan was put on the back burner, And a new plan came in because everybody was saying, oh my God, I want to learn more about that. I want to know how to do that. I want to have access to that. So it's that whole thing about you're not hard and fast. We want to really kind of drill down and examine both you and your audience. Determine the objectives. What is it about? Cause, purpose, rationale. So all of that good stuff in phase one. Now, what it looks like underneath that, and I'm not expecting you to read this, it's just to give you a sense of what's in there, but there are kind of several stages that come with this. So we've got the course mapping, design, the flow, the sequencing, all of that good stuff. It goes on and on and on. And this is from the booking page. So you can then see what's included in the group. They're done for you, they're done with you, etc. But mindset, confidence coaching, idea generation, managing the webinar funnel. In one of the cases, I actually created the PowerPoint slides as well for them. So they really just needed to show up and teach the material. They sent me the material and I then created slides out of it. So there's a range of things that are kind of going on here, right down to the creation of those final outputs, the video assets, supporting materials, the evergreen, etc. So quite a long list of things that go into it in terms of the program. So what I want to do, first of all, today, let's get into the first of the exercises. It's exercise 1A. 2 questions I've got here to kick this off. Question 1, what would you love to teach or to share? So that's question 1. Question 2, do a quick review of your skills and experience. And don't just think about the job that you're in or the role that you're in now. Really broaden that out and look at the things you've done in the past, because sometimes you have skills that are lying dormant, they are latent, and they need a bit of dusting off. So what do you love to teach or share? Do a quick review of your skills and experience. This is going to be very, very quick. As I said, you can go into it in a bit more detail outside of here, but I'm going to give you 2 minutes to do this particular exercise. So as soon as I pull up the dragon, your time will start now. 2 minutes. And yes, somebody has just said, what are the questions again? So I'll read those to you. And of course, you'll have a couple of extra minutes on the timer. So in terms of the questions again, question number 1 is, what would you love to teach or share? And question 2 is, do a quick review of your skills. So what would you love to teach and share? Do a quick review of your skills and your experience. And I'll give you an extra 45 seconds. Okay, so that's that. And the reason I say that this one is an important starting point is it helps to know what the heck you're going to be doing, and for some people that come with regards to doing this, they absolutely already know what they want to do. Like the client that I spotlighted, they knew what they wanted to deliver. As I said, some of that changed based on the reaction of the audience and also their own thinking and expanding and looking at other avenues, but it's a really fantastic starting point. So next question, in terms of the taster exercises and the beta test of these, is 1B. So we've already done those first two. The next question is, which of those things that you've identified do you find fun and easy? Now, those of you who are my photo readers, you'll know all about the easy buttons. You squeeze the easy buttons, it was, that was easy. I love those easy buttons. They stopped selling them in Staples. I've no idea why, because I'm imagining they were very, very, well, they were extremely popular with me, extremely popular with my photo readers. So of all the things you've identified so far, because as I said, you could drill down later, which of those do you find fun and which of those do you find easy? So my suggestion is look at what you've written. And if you have access to different color pens than the ones you have been writing with, just take a different color pen of your choosing and circle fun and easy. So fun could be one color, easy could be another, or you can just keep it simple and just circle all the ones that fit into fun and easy. Entirely up to you. Make your life easier, but just 1 minute, 60 seconds, just to circle what's fun, what's easy. Okay, and what it would, I don't know if you'll be able to see this, if it's not going to be particularly clear, but what it would be, for example, if you'd written a list of all the things, you then go through what you've written and you just circle what's fun, what's easy, because it might be that all of it is, but what's the funnest and the easiest. And you just circle round them, because this starts to show you a bit of a pattern. And even as you look at it, you may go, oh, you'll see some things emerging yourself. So that's 1B. That's 1B. Next, 1C. So we've done the first three. This one is, which of those things will people pay for? What do you think? Now, I'm going to preface that by reminding you that people will pretty much pay for anything if the situation and the circumstance is right. Think of those pool noodles, those long things that people in a swimming pool hit themselves with. People pay for those. I went to something the other day. It was a silent disco, and there were these things again that just like they're glow sticks. And people paid, I think it was £5 for those, and some little sort of flowers that go around your neck, So, and what are grown adults going to do? They might have kids, but what are you going to do with that afterwards? So it's not to say you have to go, oh my God, there's a massive market, it's $20 trillion and £50 billion. It's not that. The trick of this is finding the sweet spot where you can articulate it clearly enough that people go, oh my God, I want that. It's the whole premise of the starving crowd, if you want to put it that way. So don't get too hung up on this particular question, because if you frame it right and you meet the right people, as Philip Kotler used to say when I did my business studies degree, I specialized in marketing, and Philip Kotler was the guru of the day. I don't know if people still study his work, but one of his famous phrases was find a need and fill it. So that, and then he was the whole P, product, price, place, promotion. Oh gosh, it's all coming back to me now. But it was that. So don't get too het up on that particular question. However, if you look at it and go, nah, I don't think so. Then, or if there's already so many ways to do what you're thinking about doing, but don't let that question put you off. It's just one that requires particular framing if the idea that you choose to go for isn't absolutely clear. So that's part one. Exercise 2 is, quite frankly, why you? With the topic that let's say you've chosen a topic, and of course if we were doing it one-to-one we'd be drilling down into this in more detail, etc. But let's just say got an idea, at least got an idea of a topic, you think I'd love to do that, that'll be fun, and I have the skills and expertise, I have the knowledge. What's your reason and rationale for doing it? Number one. Number two, what unique skills and experience do you have? And number three, of all the, saying all the bars in all the world, you've got to walk into, why you? Why would you be the one? And this one, when I did my business degree, I never got it at the time. Our economics teacher, he had this saying, and as he said it, he would always bob his head and he'd say, sometimes you can't see the wood for the trees. None of it, and we go, here we go again. We didn't know what it meant. And it wasn't until I got in person, I was like, oh, totally get it now. But this one, we're trying to clear away all the stuff because, when you've got too much going on, too many ideas, it's all just right there. You can't distinguish what you're doing. So getting yourself clear on the rationale helps give you clarity about what you're then going to deliver to your audience. And as I said, it will all make sense once you do the kind of fuller program. So with your reason, your rationale, your unique skills, that opening slide that I had where I said, why would you work with me in a nutshell? In a nutshell, I said, well, my reason and rationale is something I love to do. It's actually fun for me. I really enjoy it. I also have a lot of skills in that area, pushing up to 35, 36 years worth of skills in the events and training and workshop design, learning design, accelerated learning, all of that. So I've got a lot of experience in that arena. So my skills are quite unique. And I'm unique. I was a management consultant working in central and local government, designing and delivering leadership development training. And I'm also a personal development trainer. So I've trained people to help train people to become practitioners, master practitioners in NLP, hypnosis, timeline therapy, etc. So I'd say that's quite unique. And add to that, I've been teaching and training online as well. Back in the day, I was doing teleseminars where you dial into a number and then once it's finished, I get a CD-ROM through the post, and then I sit at my PC and I burn the CD, as they used to call it, and then I literally write the envelopes and I put those CDs in the post for everyone who attended. So nowadays you can just kind of, if there's a replay, you can just hit the replay button once it's rendered. Back in the day, I was sending out physical. I wonder if anybody's got those CDs still. So I'd say I've got unique experience. So why me? If I go back and say all of the above, it makes me go, yeah, that's me. So what you're going to do is, again, we're going to just do a quick 2-minute brainstorm. What's your reason and rationale? What's your unique skills and experience? And why you? So I'm going to put the timer back up, but partway through I will remind you this time of the question to save you having to message me. So I will remind you of the question, but I'm going to put the timer back up on the screen in a moment. Here we go. Dragons already. Right, there we go. So you got 2 minutes for this one. Time starts now. So again, just a reminder, question one, what's your reason and rationale for what you're choosing, possibly as your topic, your title, what you want to teach? Number two, what unique skills and experience do you have that you would say, and it can be lived experience, it can be life experience. So the reason I became a relationship coach when I first got started, I did that for the first 9 years I was in practice, is because I contemplated suicide after my then partner had an affair. And so once I sorted my head out, I wanted to help other people do the same. So part of that was bringing my lived experience to it also. And then question number three is simply, why you? Because when you can answer that question, gives you a sense of confidence in what you're proposing to do. So you've got 15 seconds left. And as I said, this is a taster. You can take this forward as what I call home play and continue to add more detail and flesh it out. Okay, so that's the why, kind of getting into your rationale. Exercise number three. So 3A, you started to think about what's fun, what do you enjoy, what do you think people would pay for, what do you bring to the table, those skills and experience. So this time round, you are going to, and I believe brainstorm is now a term that's okay again, you are going to brainstorm course ideas and list everything you could possibly teach, even if you'd never do it. If you think, nah, just write it down. If it comes into your head, write it down. So I call this one strictly writing, because at the time of doing this, if you're watching this in time, Strictly Come Dancing has just returned. So it's episode 2 of the new season. And so we'll call this one strictly writing. So I'm going to give you 3 minutes with this one. Brainstorm, write down everything you could possibly teach, from baking, needlework, how to change a tire. I don't care. Everything in between, write it down. Write it down, write it down, write it down. Okay, so we'll restart the timer any second now. Now, because I've just used it, I might have to drag it back to, there we go. Let me take it back, take it to the bridge. All right, here we go. So you've got 3 minutes. Your time starts now. So you've got 1 minute left. And as you look at what you've written, if you've hit what I call an impasse, just look at it and go, what else could I possibly teach? That I've got the skills, the knowledge, the experience, the expertise. I enjoy it. It's fun. And just ask yourself, what else, what else, what else? Or is there anything else? Now, another nuance on this one, you kind of list everything. 3B, identify what you find easy. We're back to the easy button that others struggle with. So, for example, this is an image that I used years ago when I met someone who was a declutter specialist. They have almost basically got a PhD in decluttering. Now, many people go, well, surely everybody just knows how to tidy up. No, no, no. If you've ever watched Hoarders, for example, you will know it's a serious issue. Many people struggle with it. I am what I call a messy pup. I can go into a hotel room within a couple of days. It's like a tornado has gone through it because I was just spread out everywhere. And Catherine, her name's Catherine Blackler, she just finds it easy. She loves doing it. And there's a whole industry of there's like professional associations for people who declutter. It's a thing, and rightly so, as I said, because it is a big issue and it goes beyond being a little bit messy. There can be some real deep psychological stuff going on as there as well. So it could be that there is something that you think, well, yeah, it's easy, but then you look around and, or you might have people go, God, you're so organized. I can never get my head around it. And if you know, just think about what people often say to you that they compliment you on, for example. So people will often say to me, God, Marilyn, I don't know how you sort all this stuff out. There was somebody who was in the movie The Secret who said to me, you're like a whirlwind. You go into a situation, whoosh, sort it out, while the people in the situation are still kind of trying to look at the pieces. You're like in, out, boom, done, sorted, next. So I know I have a skill for that. And part of that is bringing some of that skill set into the Done With You and the Done For You program. So don't take those things too lightly. So what I'm going to say over the next couple of days, do this one as a bit of home play, is just start to notice now, really pay attention, go back through the memory banks and pay attention as you're out in the world. What do people compliment on you on that they struggle with and that you find easy? It's kind of like it's a bit like a no-brainer, because Catherine loves decluttering and she would go into people's homes. And actually, funnily enough, after she worked with me, because her job was physically going to people's houses, so driving here, there and everywhere. And I said, have you ever done it online? She says, no, couldn't do it online. I says, everybody's got one of these or a phone. And what you could do is you'll be in your respective place. They will switch on their camera and they're going to walk you around their house. And she's like, oh gosh, I hadn't thought of doing that. I'm like, there you go. So that opened up a whole new avenue potentially for people who wanted to work with her from a distance. She could still do that for them. And then they sit down and have the one-to-one and they discuss it. She says, well, see that corner over there and see that corner over there. And she hadn't thought of it until I'd suggested it, because that's kind of the way my mind works as well in terms of seeing possibilities, seeing patterns, etc. So for this one, mull it over and just notice. And every single time you realize that, oh yeah, write it down, write it down, write it down. Because if we were working together, that is part of the foundation body of work as well. And then 3C, and again, this is one you're going to ponder, you're going to think about. Have you ever thought to yourself, I could do that. What's the that? So, for example, how my writing career started, I write for newspapers, I write for magazines. I'll show you that in a bit when I kind of do a quick bio of kind of who I am and what I do in a bit more detail. I would distinctly remember I was in, she's now my friend, but I didn't really know her that well at the time. We were just kind of getting to know each other, quite friendly, had good rapport. So I'm on the I'm in her shop. She had her name is Faye Charlotte. She had a shop called the Oracle on Market Street in Watford many, many years ago. A good, what would that be, pushing up to 30 years ago now. So I'm resting on the counter and she's got like some sort of spiritual magazine on the counter. So she's serving someone, because we were in the middle of having a conversation. A customer came and I said, oh no, you serve them, I'll talk to you later. So I'm looking at it's Kindred Spirit. So I'm looking at the magazine, I'm flicking through, and there are, looking at some of the articles, and I could just go, I could do that. I could do that, as in I could write that. I could write something like that. I could write something like that. So I just happened to say it out loud to Faye. I said, I could do that, write for magazines. She pulls out this like wicker basket from under the table and she's going through it. And she said, here. And she hands me a business card for someone called Lisa Howells. And she says, Lisa is a deputy editor of a magazine. They often they've written a few articles about the shop. Why don't you contact her and see if you could write for her? And I was like, okay. So I did. I phoned her up. Now, journalists will never answer their phones these days. And Lisa has laughed about it. She says, babes, you'd never get hold of me now because the journalists don't necessarily sit there waiting for strangers to ring them. But back in the day, I phoned, she answered. The rest, as they say, is history. That is how it started. Well, actually, there was a step before that. I was trying to explain what I do in terms of the breakthrough session. I worked with someone for one day, completely changed their life. We let go of limiting beliefs, negative emotions. We reprogram their future timeline, boom, 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 boom. And I said, hey, look, why don't you come to, I live in Watford. Why don't you come to Watford? I'll do the session. I'll do your one day breakthrough session. If you like it, you can write about it. If you don't like it, you can write about it too. That's how it started. And so I did a one day breakthrough session with her. She absolutely loved it, wrote about it. And then something came up about negative emotions, and Lisa said to the journalist who was looking for someone to commission, that she wanted to commission a piece, she said, hey, contact this woman called Marilyn Devonish. That's the subject that she knows a lot about, and that is how it started. So that little blurry thing you can see there, that's the page of experts for Here's Health magazine. And my face is, Gillian McKeith was in there as well. But my face is in amongst the experts, because I used to then write for them on a regular basis. I then had a problem page, a relationship page, agony aunt page. I would speak for them at, exhibition centres and expos, but that's how it started. And the same with Skidos. I was looking through the brochure at all of the wonderful workshops, and I was like, I could teach that. And so I wrote to them. They invited me in for an interview, and a few months later, I'm spending a month on a Greek island running relationship workshops and life coaching workshops. And it was that thing. I could do that. So again, start being the observer of yourself, because I'm not there to pull it out of you in this intro, but be the observer of yourself and just think about, where do you say to yourself, I could do that? And you could do it and you'd like to do it, because there's those things you could do that you actually don't want to do. But you could say, I could do that, and identify what's the that, because within that could be the seed of something as well. Exercise number 4. Actually, before we do exercise number 4, I think it's time for some water. Of all the ideas that you've identified thus far, and will continue to identify when you have a bit more time, which of them will you do first? And my suggestion, because sometimes people go, oh, I'd love to do that. And then they pick the one that they literally need to have a PhD in, because they've got to go and do 20 million hours of research. And then they got to go and do this course and qualify for 2 years. And then they got to do, I was like, okay, if you got the time to tie yourself up in knots, go for it. However, is there what I call some low hanging fruit? You go, yeah, I've already got the skills. I've already got the knowledge. I've already got the expertise. I've already got the information. You may even already have the qualification, and you just haven't used it yet. And we're back to dusting it off. So go for the low-hanging fruit as your first thing out of the gate. And then once you've got that under your belt, you're like, yeah, let's do the next one. Let's do the next one. Let's do the next one. But don't necessarily start with the one where you've got to tie yourself up in knots before you can even just get it off the drawing board. So that would be my suggestion. So again, a bit of home play. Now, of course, if this was the workshop, the real workshop, we'd spend longer time on all of these. We'd be having the back and forth dialogue. I'd be answering your questions and all that sort of stuff. But this is just to give you a taster and a flavor of what it's about, a little squeeze of the orange juice. Some of you photo readers will recognize that. That's what I use for the tangerine technique. And the tangerine technique will help you greatly when you're actually on camera. So keep that in mind if you are a photo reading accelerated learning graduate. So low hanging fruit first, and then from there you can expand. So it may be that you expand on the topic or an idea, and the next time out you go deeper, you explore it in more detail, or it might be done that one, it's complete, and then you can broaden your horizons and go, of the other things that I've identified, what do I want to do next? So that expand can go in a number of different areas, hence the expand squared. And then you get to phase 2, which is all about the idea dissemination, because at the moment you're going to have all these ideas, you're going to have some of them circled, which are fun, which are easy. Then there's going to be another iteration of that in terms of we come back to the market, we come back to the audience, because we still haven't even talked about your audience yet. And designing a course isn't you-centric. It's based on your audience. It's based on the people you are here to serve. So that's a whole other ball game. And of course, that's included in the done with you and done for you. But it's about, okay, and of all these ideas, if you've got loads of them, we need to disseminate them. We need to then sort of map them out. I'm a fan of mind mapping. So that's just one of my mind maps. You can see they're on screen. Various things like almost like fill in the boxes, and it's going to start like doing a bit of a turnkey thing for you. Looking at the timelines and your delivery mechanisms, because there are various ways that you can deliver what it is you want to share, what it is you want to teach, and also various formats and all that sort of stuff. So that sort of moves us into the next phase. And then there are things that I'll take people through where answer this, answer this, answer this, and it then starts backfilling it for you without you having to really think about it in sort of too much detail. So if that sounds appealing and like the kind of thing that you like, yeah, I would like to do that. I would like done with you or done for you in a box. Or you want to go the group version and have more than one person there, then you can join the Done With You or Done For You program. I guess there's a decision to be made. I don't guess, I know there's a decision to be made. And the thing you answer about yourself, if you've been meaning to design a course, a workshop, run a webinar, and it's actually you've been thinking about it for more than 5 or 6 months, and you might even be pushing into the 5, 10, 15, 20 year mark, the decision is, will doing this bring you closer to achieving your goal? If yes, fabulous. So investing in yourself and doing this is the next logical step and decision, so that you can be the person who's gone from thinking about it for 20 years, having 20 years worth of experience, and bang, having your workshops up and running within 6 weeks. Now, everybody's going to be different. They came with a wealth of experience, 20 years worth of knowledge. So it's really just about eking it out of them, showing them how to package it, and then being there to support them as they did it. So timescales, of course, will vary. But for me, I'm looking at, 6 to 8 weeks to really go from blank sheet of paper to here we are. And case in point, this particular presentation that you're looking at and you've been watching now did not exist yesterday. I started it this morning, and today I ran a half-day workshop. So I ran the Win Your Morning in 30 Days Part 2. That was from 1 p.m. till 5 p.m. today. We started this at 6 p.m. So between, and by the time I went to the bathroom, made a cup of tea, blah, blah, blah. So between 5:15 and 5:50, I started a little bit of it this morning, and I did the finishing pieces today in that 40-minute segment. Now, I tell you this not so you can use it as a strategy. I do not recommend that unless you know what you're doing, because it will be super freaking stressful. I just say that to give you an idea of once the material and information is there, you can then start to put it together rapidly at speed. As I said, I'm not suggesting that as a strategy. I did do it for one of the clients on the program, because before we were both due to go live, it turns out they hadn't done their slides. I'm like, oh, for the love of God, send me the material. So I sat and did the slides just before we went live. I'm not, as I said, I'm not recommending that. I'm just saying it to show you that when you have got the expertise there, you can get things out very quickly if you need to. So 6 weeks is pretty standard for me. And as I said, we can go, and those of you on my e-newsletter list will know that I only told you about this workshop. Was it this morning or last night? I think it was this morning or last night, because it didn't exist. I just thought, actually, it'll be a really nice way to sort of start bringing what I'm doing to life. Why don't I do an intro? So check with somebody on my e-newsletter list. It went out just a few hours before I ran this. So thank you for those of you who were able to make it live. And thank you for watching the replay for those of you who weren't. But that's how quickly, when you have the skills, the information, the knowledge, you can get something out of the gate. But this did not exist this time yesterday. So in terms of, if you did want to do it, I'm going to say the URL. Actually, what I will do also, for those of you who are here live, I'm going to put it into the chat as well. Let me find it. Done with you, done for you. MarilynDevonish.thrivecart.com. Done for you packages. That's the one I'm looking for. Right, so I'm going to put it into the chat. It will appear there. Right, there you go. So that's in the chat, but it's www.MarilynDevonish, MarilynDevonish, and Marilyn Devonish is one word, .thrivecart.com/done-for-you packages. So done for you packages. And for those of you who are here live, I'll type that in as well. So coupon code is, there you go, webinar 10. There you go. So that would take 10% off. And what you can do, depending on the level that you want to do. So it starts with the done for you, which is the heavy duty. I don't want to be fussing about with this. Help me just get this into the world. Then it's got the done with you, which is, we're doing a bit of a split, and I will take on the things that you're like, oh my God, I'm freaking out, can't do that. And there'll be things that I'm going to be tasking you to do as well. And then right at the bottom, I've just added the new iteration, the new version, which is the group program, because I appreciate that the bespoke one-to-one isn't going to be the right fit for everyone, both in terms of my time and your time. Actually, your time, I'd say it's the ideal package for everyone if you don't want to have to spend loads of time doing stuff. But there's a limited number that I can do of those, because it is as it sounds. I am actually doing a lot of the heavy lifting for you. And also in terms of the price point. So I've put together the group program if you want a lighter version of those two options. So that's the URL that you can go to. Now, one of the things I'm going to say with regards to this is of the things we've talked about so far, what are the things you'll put into action in the next 24 to 48 hours? I should say 48. What's been your biggest takeaway so far? I know it's been a whistle-stop tour, been really quick about it, but this is just to get the ball rolling. And, it was a condensed version of what the actual online program will be. But your biggest takeaway, number 3, continue to map out your course ideas, the things that you've started to think about here. And number 4, if this appeals and you actually want some help and support getting this out of your head and out the door and into the hands of your customers and clients, then sign up for the done with you or the done for you program or the group program. So those will be your next step. Now, if you're like, yeah, I want to do it, these are the kind of 3 key options. There's the done for you, and that's that one. I think that's a 2-month program. There's the done with you. There's a 1-day intensive in between that, but keep it simple. And then there's the launch price for the done with you group program, where we go through these exercises in a group format. I answer your questions in real time, etc. Then you go away and you flesh those ideas out. Now, for those of you who are here, once you use the coupon code webinar 10, there's 10% off. So the done with you group program is 224, and that incorporates the workshop, the live Q&A, the live coaching, group coaching, etc. So click on that link if you're like, yeah, I'm in, it's for me. And if it's not, actually, if you know someone, you're like, oh my God, so and so's always going on about doing a course, doing a workshop, running a webinar, or you know someone who's got amazing skills, and you think, oh my God, I've been saying to them for ages, you really should run a workshop. Do you teach this, etc.? And that's another thing actually for you to look out for. If in your line of work, people often say, God, you should teach this. God, I thank you for that. Oh my God, that was so helpful. But if you know someone who's a good fit, please feel free to tell them about it. But that's if you use the code for those of you who are here live. And so you get 10% off of those prices. And the final thing I will say with regards to this, actually, let's what I did say I was going to do, let me oh gosh, let me do this. I said I was going to do a little bit of an intro first, just who I am, what I do, in terms of further background experience, lived experience. So as I said, my name is Marilyn Devonish. That's Devon with an ISH on the end, and the same spelling as in Marilyn Monroe. Very eclectic background. I was very quiet, very shy, lacking in confidence, very low self-esteem until the age of 32. I could barely even speak to my own family. And, you know, the thought of being on stage in front of thousands of people, the thought of being on live TV with no script would have terrified the life out of me. And now that's one of the things I regularly do, and I absolutely love it. So I went from terrified, and I was studying to be a chartered accountant. One of the reasons was that I thought I wouldn't have to talk to people. I could just be in the background, tapping away on the calculator, pushing paper. Ha. And then I realized, of course, to be a decent accountant, you've got to actually be able to talk to people. I was like, oh no. So that's when I signed up for the communication skills course, got the joining instructions, realized it was a load of stuff that I had not anticipated. It's like hypnosis, timeline therapy, this thing called Huna. And I phoned them up and I said, this isn't what I signed up for. I want a refund. Thank God they didn't give me a refund, but they said, come to the training. If you don't get massive value, we will give you a refund at the end. So I went along face like thunder, steaming, because it was several £1,000s. And I'm like, that's a lot of money. And a whole week, 7 days of my time. So I went in one end, suicidal, shy, depressed, very angry, confused about my life direction. And I came out the other side like, oh my God, this is amazing. And so I didn't get the money back. I continued on to do what you call the master practitioner. Loved it. So I just rolled that, money forward, did the master practitioner as well. And then the follow, so this was all in October 2000. And then in May 2001, I did my NLP trainers training, certified trainer in timeline therapy, certified trainer in hypnosis. And then in 2002, because I had the early onset Alzheimer's thing going on as well, and the photo reading completely changed my mind and brain. So in 2002, I flew out to Minneapolis with a couple of days' notice to study with Dr. Paul Sheely to become a certified photo reading instructor. And over the last 25 years, I've been trained in about, 20 different modalities. So the NLP, hypnosis, timeline therapy, Huna, Reiki was one of the early things that I did, DNA theta healing, access consciousness, access bars, FLP, future life progression, past life regression, tarot, archetypal profiling, archetypal branding, soul plan reading. I'm now a soul plan instructor, so I can teach other people and certify them in soul plan reading, the photo reading, accelerated learning, you name it, probably done it in some way, shape or form, because I just had this insatiable just desire to learn about this stuff. It opened up a whole new world. I'm not going to sing, but some of you know that song. So that's how it all came into being. And then from there, having, went from public speaking to absolutely loving public speaking, being on stage, teaching and training, I then became a management consultant as well in 2003, working in central and local government, designing and delivering corporate trainings, leadership development workshops, executive coaching, all of that. Good stuff. This is where the writing then sprung from, in me saying, I could do that. I'd love to do that. That's what happened. I started writing for newspapers and magazines. I've lost count of how many I've written for. There will be thousands of articles out there now. So I started off writing about emotional health and well-being. I was a media expert for Psychology's magazine. As I said, I did had a monthly column for Spirit and Destiny magazine for 6-7 years. So every single month I'd get a reader's letter and I would then answer that in 500 words or less. Yeah, you name them, I've probably written for them. What we got here, Top Sante, Spirit and Destiny, Psychology's magazine, Aesthetic Medicine. Seriously, you name it, probably written for it. And I also write for business publications as well, so more on topics of leadership, diversity, mental health, change management, remote working. Of course, I've been a remote working specialist since 2003. So going into organizations to write and design and implement remote working policy and strategy. And I've written for people like Forbes, The Guardian, The Times, Huffington Post, Chartered Management Institute. I do live television, live radio, and all of that pretty much started for me going, I could do that. I'd like to do that. So don't take what I've shared with you lightly. This is how it started. And I also then co-authored a book called Stories of Transformation. It's on the shelf. People often say, is there a PDF and ebook? No, this was back in the day when you actually produced physical books. So it is a physical book, but Stories of Transformation. So I co-authored with Dr. Paul Sheely, the co-creator of Photo Reading, Anthony Robbins, Tony Robbins, depends on how you address him, the late Dr. Wayne Dyer from Hay House Stable, myself, Marilyn, Devonish, Chun-Yi Lin, and business guru Brian Tracy. And it's called Stories of Transformation. So how did we change and transform our life? And I also design and deliver, as I said, corporate workshops, going into organizations in person and also online. And you name it, probably done it. Again, it says 50 plus, it's probably more like 150, but things like communication skills, remote working policy and strategy, emotional intelligence, stakeholder management, public speaking, presentation skills, critical thinking and decision making, mindfulness, meditation, managing teams, psychological safety, resilience, NLP in business, leadership development, managing projects, finance for non-financial managers, creative thinking, mental health, first aid, diversity and inclusion. You name it, it's probably in there. Productivity, and doing kind of mediation sessions, away days, etc. So that's a little bit about me and my background. So if you were kind of saying, well, what makes you unique, Marilyn, those will be some of the things that I would say go into the mix in terms of what I can bring to bear on this particular subject. So let's get back to where we were. There we go. Now, so with regards to this one, exercise number 5 is a little bonus for making it this far and staying to the end. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Mental rehearsal. This is like a secret super weapon. So this is from my Fearless Public Speaking workshop, because I've got a Fearless Public Speaking workshop and a Fearless Public Speaking program. One of the things I would definitely say is if you have a fear or you're nervous about speaking. Now, for you to be thinking about running courses, workshops, webinars, etc., many of the people, this isn't the biggest thing that's holding them back. It's more about the overwhelm. They don't know where to start. It's about the technology. It's about how to manage everything. It's about how to structure everything. That's not the fear of public speaking isn't necessarily the big number one thing that stands in their way. However, even people who know their material inside out, they've got the skills, they've got the expertise, they've got the knowledge. When it comes to the moment to go, we're going live, there can be a little bit of nerves and anxiety as they think about that beforehand. So this is a very quick way that you can start dealing with that in the background. It's mental, I call it mental rehearsal. So one of the things that you will do once you've got your course, mentally run through doing it. So if you're going to be in a physical room, you imagine showing up, how you'll be standing, your posture, the way you'll be moving. Mentally rehearse your opening line. Because once you either get on stage or you hit go live and the camera is on, this is where, if people are going to bottle it, as we say in the UK, and lose it, they get the rabbit in the headlights, things like, oh my God, where can I start? Whereas if you've been mentally rehearsing your start and it's just smooth, once you get beyond that, it's like you're out of the starting gate, and then suddenly you're like, okay, I'm on a roll. Now, there's a lot more to it than that in the whole process, but this is a really good starting point. So mentally rehearse that first of all, start with the first 60 seconds. What do you think you're going to do? Even right down to, sitting on camera, looking at camera, getting your positioning right. You see it's live, off you go. Do the mental rehearsal for the first 60 seconds, and then you can add another minute and another minute and get yourself up to that first 5 minutes. It is a powerhouse of things. And with regards to what you can see on screen, you've got two of my clients here. One of them is the wonderful Erica Brodnock. When we first started working together, she said, I really love an MBE. She's now Erica Brodnock MBE. And so she went from being petrified of public speaking. She was invited to do a TED talk. And so we did some work together. She is now an award-winning speaker, one of the best speakers I know. She travels the world. When you see people with those big checks, because she's got a business, so she'd be pitching for her business, loads of pictures with Erica and those big checks, because she nails that pitch. She's an incredible speaker. And so those skills obviously parlay into her showing up in the world. As I said, she got her MBE, I think 4 years ago, something like that. So that's Erica Brodnock of KinHub Consulting. And then you've got the wonderful Rachel CK. And Rachel didn't work with me one-to-one with the Fearless Public Speaking. She took my online program, so I wasn't even there. So when I'm saying to you about, you could create an evergreen program that runs even if you're not there, that is exactly what I mean. Actually, let me pull it up, because it's a bit on the small side. I'm going to pull this one up here on my screen so I can tell you what it says. So Rachel says, hold on, let me bring that into play. So Rachel says, for those of you who were asking me about my big talk in January and shared my joy, I was so happy with how it had gone, ... Marilyn Devonish is the awesome lady that enabled me to breathe, think and talk all at the same time. And now you can do it too, ! Whether you get nervous in social settings, on social media, speaking in one-to-one meetings, small groups or big stages, these techniques work. I'm tapping into what I learned almost every day now. What's holding you back from sharing your passions or knowledge? Good question, Rachel. And the reason there's an old cassette tape there and a picture of Gran Canaria, I know it's a bit small, so you probably can't make it out. But the reason that's there is I was on holiday in January 2020 in Gran Canaria, and I got a message from Rachel saying, I've just spent the day with you. And I actually thought, I looked around the pool, I thought, oh my God, Rachel and her family, they ended up at the same resort as me. And then I would continue to read the message, and she said, no, I've just taken your Fearless Public Speaking one day online on demand program. And that was her wonderful feedback. So if you've been thinking, I'm doing work online, will it be impactful? Working with the right people like myself, yes, it will be, to the point where you can still be changing people's lives even when you're not physically there. And for me, that's one of the powerful things about learning these skills and mastering all of this stuff. So we're going to do a quick Q&A. All right, hold on. Let me go to my Q&A. Okay. So first question is, when does this start? Now, when you say this, there are three options. I'm going to kind of go backwards. With the online group program, that has not launched yet. I'm in pre-launch. So I'm looking at what I do with the bespoke one-to-one clients, and I'm translating that into, okay, how can I create a version of that still has the impact that I want it to have and will get people their outcome and result? Maybe not as quickly, take a bit more time, because some of this will be self-directed learning rather than me driving it. So that hasn't launched yet. What you're here doing now, you're helping me beta test some of these questions, and thank you for that. With the Done With You, and done for you, those are already available. Use the link that I put into the chat. They're bespoke, so they're one-to-one, so they depend on my schedule and your timeline. So for example, if you said I want to start tomorrow, I'd be like, no dude, it's Sunday. But I'd need some notice. But with regards to that, kind of available, but depends on schedule, particularly with the done for you, because that's quite a lot of resource on my part. So that's really more a timing thing in terms of when do you want to get started, what is my schedule looking like, and how can we work that out. Now the good thing about it is, because as I said, the client I was working with was in the United States. In America, I'm here in the United Kingdom. We did a once a month, we did a Zoom call, and of course we had email coaching back and forth, but I didn't have to physically be at the same time zone as them. I said, okay, send me the material, what are we doing here? And I could just work on it in my time zone. I send it to them. When they wake up, they go, brilliant, yeah, love that, actually could you change that, or what about this, or that's an amazing image, love the video, whatever it is. So we don't have to be in the same time zone, but I have to make sure that I've got the capacity in terms of my time and my schedule to do it. Okay, so that's that one. Cool. You're most welcome. Can I go? Okay. Let me. I'm gonna have to hold on. They said, can I go back to the pricing slide again? Yeah. What I will do, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you exactly what each of those is. Hold on, because I was sort of speculating. 1 second. So they said, can I go back and can they look at that again? So yes, so you use that coupon code and it will take 10% off. So what you've got is you've got the 2-month done for you package. So if I'm doing it for you, we got 2 months from start where we interview you, draw that information out of you to getting that program finished within that 2-month window. And of course that relies on you giving me the info as well. So the first price you can see is the 2-month done for you package. The next one you can see is the 1 month done with you package, where, there's that co-creation piece. And then the third one, that's the online program. So I hope that makes sense. Perfect, Mundo. Good stuff. Good stuff. Hold on. Let me go back to my window. Brilliant. Okay, so you've answered my question already. That is great. Yeah, so sorry, they're saying what if I don't know what I want to do? Well, that's part, if you're doing the kind of bespoke one-to-one, that's part of the first thing we do, is a deeper version of the questions we've had here today, really kind of drilling down. I kind of almost think it like a coaching or therapy session where we're looking at the root cause and people are like, I don't know. And then once you've kind of taken them through that process, like, whoom, it all comes out. So there is a process for that. So you don't have to know straight out the gate. I'd say the key thing is knowing that you have the skills, the knowledge, the expertise, because this isn't for someone who's wet behind the ears and has only just starting out on their journey and is trying to make something up like I was going to say like an influencer, where it's you're not necessarily an expert, but you kind of look great. It's not that. This is for people who have got the knowledge, the skills, the expertise. So part of that first process is drawing it out of you, and then from there we go through where we're disseminating, etc. So no, you don't need to know straight out of the gate. Is there a payment plan? Yes, there is. So when you go to the URL that I've put into the chat, you will see there's an option for a 3 pay. So and that's for the kind of the bigger done with you. And there's also an option for a 1-day intensive. If you're like, Marilyn, let's just get together one-to-one, let's steam through this thing, let's go. So I haven't put that on here because I didn't want to have too many options prices, it can get confusing, but that is on there as well. Okay, cool. Thank you very much. You are most welcome. You are most welcome. Right, I think that's all the questions. I'll have a quick look before we finish and just see if there's anything else that pops up on the radar. But thank you for joining me today. Really appreciate it. Thank you so much for the feedback. People saying, yeah, it was useful. Great start, kind of getting your head around a few things, and a tough question asking why me. To be honest with you, I think that's one of the things that holds people back. They're like, oh no, who am I to? Ooh, and they almost start shrinking, even when they've got, years, decades worth of experience. So you're absolutely right. It seems like a very simple question. Why you? But it's deep when you really, really go into it. So yeah, amazing, wonderful. Glad you've had that little shift and light bulb moment. But thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. And once you get going and do these exercises in your own time, please email me with your feedback, the output from that. That would be amazing. Because as I said, I want to make sure that it's going to deliver what I'm planning for it to deliver. My email address is marilyn@transformationstm.com. That's Marilyn. Same spelling as in Marilyn Monroe. Trance, TRANCE, F for Freddie, so FORMATIONS, TM as in trademark. So Marilyn@transformationstm.com. My main website is transformationstm.com. It's like an archive site. I've had that site since 2001, so pushing up to 25 years old as well. So the easiest thing, click the red What's New button, a panel will slide out, have a little bit of scroll. I update it once or twice a month, but you'll see the things that are kind of coming up, and then you scroll a bit and you'll see a link to the Done With You and Done For You site as well. And I'm on the usual social media channels. Facebook is my channel of choice. I'm also on X, Twitter. I'm also on Instagram, and I'm back on LinkedIn. So, and of course, I've got a YouTube channel. If you haven't done so, I'd love for you to subscribe, because my God, the algorithms are challenging out there. So any like, thumbs up, quick comments, always very much appreciated. And the only place that I'm not at Marilyn Devonish or / Marilyn Devonish is Instagram, where it's the NeuroSuccess Coach. So keep in touch, keep me updated. Thank you, as I said, for joining me today. Really, really appreciate your time, and I look forward to maybe supporting you to bring your next or even your first workshop to life, whether that you're going to be running. If you're running it in person, I won't be there, but if you're running it online, the option is there, depending on the package, to actually run your webinar for you. So yeah, look forward to working with you. Catch you later. Marilyn Devonish, the NeuroSuccess Coach and Rapid Transformation Specialist from transformationstm.com. Over and out. I will catch you later.